ध्यान मुक्ति पथ दिखाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, प्रकाशित हृदय में ईश्वर। ज्ञानियों के शुद्ध मनों में, साधकों के चिंतनों में, ज्ञानियों के शुद्ध मनों में, साधकों के चिंतनों में, मेरी आस मेरे श्वास तुझ में ही समाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, प्रकाशित हृदय में ईश्वर।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Does anyone have any questions? Right, so let us continue. What we have been, is anybody new to class today? Bindu, Ganesh, are you new?
Yes.
Okay.
And Hariom.
Well, welcome to the class. Is this your first exposure to Vedanta?
No.
Okay.
I have been studying with Chinmaya mission fountain. Yeah, not in full-fledged, but Bhagavad Gita I did with them.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So we are doing a part of the Bhagavad Gita here also. We are doing the part of Gnana Yoga.
Yeah.
We started it last time. If you have any question, sometimes I forget that you may be new. So if you have any question, please feel free to stop and ask.
Sure.
Okay, so on your screen also, everyone is Deepak Negi. Hariom, he has joined us as full-time, the only full-time person we have over here. So since he's here, a good chance to introduce you all. This is our class. And if you have anything, you can always get in touch with him and talk. Slowly you'll get in touch with all the volunteers who are doing things. But at least now you all have seen him, you know that he exists. And welcome to the class, welcome to the organization. All right, so here now, today is Gnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. The most important aspect of our studies, because what we are doing, the path we are following is the path of Gnana Yoga. So therefore, we must clearly understand what it is. First and foremost, as we studied last time, it is for intellectuals. What does intellectuals mean? Does it mean a person without emotions? No, that's not what it means. What does it mean? Does it mean a person who has a lot of degrees? Do you know, recently I saw in the papers, or well, I didn't see in the papers, I never see the papers, but somebody sent me an article about a man from, I think, Chennai. He has 145 degrees. And he's 50 years old, just to make it clear. 145 degrees, 50 years old. By these standards, we are all very uneducated people. So he has got 145 degrees. Based on this, can we even know whether he's intellectual or not? The answer is no. We cannot tell whether he's intellectual or not. An intellectual is a person who tends to ask why. It's all children must be beginning as intellectuals, because whatever you tell them, they'll say why. Anything you say, eat your food, why? The child doesn't know why you must eat his food. You have to explain that to him. So that a person who wants to know why is something happening, or why should I do something, or what do you mean by what you're saying? A person who tends to question them is an intellectual. A person who applies reason to whatever is going on. He may do it appropriately, he may do it inappropriately. Many intellectuals do it inappropriately also. All right. But the thing is, he tends to ask these kind of questions. So for those type of people who want to know why is something so, how is something so, is the path of Gnana Yoga. They should choose that, because Gnana Yoga will sufficiently answer every question you can come up with. So for the intellectual class of persons is the path of Gnana Yoga. So when you come, why now the intellectual can go and do science also? Why did he come to Vedanta? Because he wants to know something more than what science can provide. So science can explain this entire material world, and it does a brilliant job at it, no doubt about that. The amount of facilities and amenities and conveniences that science has given us is amazing. Okay, even now we are able to do this class because science has done its work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do this class. Now, some questions science cannot answer, such as who am I? Why have I come here? Where am I going from here? Why does this world exist at all? What lies beyond what our senses can perceive, or our mind can feel, or our intellect can think? When you have questions of this nature, philosophical questions, then such a person approaches Gnana Yoga. When he approaches Gnana Yoga, what happens is, what will he do? He will listen to somebody, he will read something. This is the first barrier in Gnana Yoga, because we will start following people, reading books, listening to YouTube lectures. Okay, all of this exercise can very easily take us away from the path of Gnana Yoga into intellectual curiosity. Very easily we will go on that to, okay, what does Islam say? What does Buddhism say? What does Upanishad say? What does Zoroastrianism say? What does the Torah contain? Can so easily get carried away. In others, you don't even need, even if you say, no, I will only read Hindu scriptures. Oh my God, there are billions and billions of them. How many will you read? And as an intellectual, you would love to read. You would love to hear. It would find it very interesting. Please relax. These are all temptations. These are not our path. Then what is the path? Are we supposed to throw away the books, not listening to YouTube lectures, not go to class? What are you supposed to do? No, please come to class. Come to class because at least I need an occupation. So please come to class. Okay, so you have to take some knowledge in. Without taking in basic information, we can't proceed anywhere. Otherwise, we'll have to reinvent the wheel, right? So taken basically. But the real and important part of it is not the information, but the discrimination, the Viveka Shakti which we develop. Viveka is the Sanskrit word for discrimination. I'm using the word Viveka because the English word discrimination, unfortunately, has come to mean many negative things. So it interferes in people's understanding. So therefore, I'm shifting to Viveka. The translation is discrimination. So when we have that capacity of discrimination, of Viveka, that is the essence of Gnana Yoga. So what are we discriminating between? Discrimination means you're telling two things apart. What are these two things we're telling apart? The most important thing we need to know in this world, the distinction, the discernment we must have is between what is permanent and what is passing. If we are not able to make this distinction, every decision we will take erroneously. Okay, so here's a student who's studying, who's in the exams. Okay, tomorrow is the exam. Today he feels like going seeing a movie. So he has to know what is permanent. That exam result is permanent, or the pleasure of this movie is permanent. So this capacity in us all the time of knowing what is permanent, what is passing. I have a fight with a family member. Is the fight permanent? Is the family relationship permanent? Constantly you do that. If you're offered some food, is the joy of this food permanent? Or is its effect on my body permanent? All the time you are able to understand what is permanent, what is passing, which means that you're able to give everything in life the right value. This capacity is what we have to develop. You may know all the scriptures, you may know the Gita, you may know the Upanishads, you may know the Ashtavakra Gita, you may know all the things in the world. But the critical part is, do I know how to tell what is permanent and what is passing? To learn to do that is called Gnana Yoga. Gnana Yoga is nothing but the ability to discriminate between the passing and the permanent. And if you really start thinking about it and say, okay, what is passing? What the body is very passing, right? Imagine how we were. At one time, we were so tiny, we couldn't be seen. Now we become quite good sized and we obstruct other people's visions. So it's a small, that small, like few cells to this. And then you'll become the future. This body will change, right? The skin which was tight will become loose. The hair which was black will become gray or will not be there. Two options we have. The hearing which was sharp will go weak. When you're young and you say, I can't see, we're talking about seeing in the distance. And you come to middle age, when you say, I can't see, you can't see what is close to you. Which is a very good thing, really, because it's an advantage we have that when we grow old, we can't see close distance. What is the advantage? You can't see all the lines on your face. You feel you're very young still. So, this body changes. Comparatively, the mind is more steady. Emotions, what you like, what you don't like. Relative, compared to the body, more steady. Compared to that, what your intellect conceives, more steady, more permanent. But if you really look at it, in this whole world, The only thing that is permanent is the Lord, is the self. Every single thing other than that cannot be depended upon. Just simply cannot be depended upon. Not because it is bad, not because it chooses to be mean to us. It is in its nature not dependent. And if we go and make our houses, if we put our security into passing phenomenon, how can we live a secure life? You know, that famous story from folklore that there was a bird, and the bird went and made its nest on the sands, and the ocean came and sort of the waves came, and then the nest and all the little eggs in the nest, everything was destroyed, and the bird was crying. It's a simple child story, but that is our life. We go and make our nest on something that is impermanent, on shifting sands. If we have one iota of brains, should we not go and make that nest on some solid ground? So your job as a Gnana yogi is to find the solid ground. What according to you is the solid ground? And fix yourself there instead of fixing it into all the impermanent things of this world. Because please understand, impermanent means it will change. Change means 5 things for a human being at least, for a being at least. Birth, growth, disease, decay, and death. Every one of them is painful. When you're being born, what do? You start crying. But why are you crying? Why don't you laugh? No, you cry. Birth is painful. Growth is painful. Remember, the child is getting teeth. It's crying and crying. Why is the child crying? It's getting teeth. But teeth are good thing, no? No, it's crying because it's getting teeth. You know, in your past, I don't know if you ever had this in school, you passed from 2nd standard to 3rd standard. Some children start crying. They don't want to go to 3rd standard because they want to be with their friends in 2nd standard. Growth is painful. See what happens to the teenagers. They drive themselves and everybody around them crazy. How many mothers approach me with teenage children is amazing. They're driving the whole world crazy. The mother is going crazy, the child is going crazy. The child is going crazy, I can understand. Mother is also going crazy. Why is the mother going crazy? What? Why is the mother going crazy? Child is going crazy, is growing, I can understand. Why is the mother going crazy?
Attachment to the child.
No Gnana yoga. Not able to tell what is permanent, what is passing. So, growth is painful. For you also, for others also. Your growth is painful to you, your growth is painful to others. Growth is painful. Decay is painful. Disease is painful. And death is painful. Alright. Now, as long as you are a being, you will have to go through this. Every being will go through these changes. As long as you understand this, you have no problem in this world. But if you don't understand it, and you settle yourself down into these impermanent factors, what the result is misery, tragedy. It's a stronger word. I need a stronger word. Tragedy. It's a disaster. That is why our lives are disaster. There's no disaster at all. It's a nice, fun journey. We can all enjoy ourselves. But no, we will not enjoy ourselves. We will make a disaster out of it. So the world is changing. Every being will go through birth, growth, decay, disease, and death. objects disappear. Best example has to be demonetization. 500 rupees note you had in your hand. Suddenly that was paper. No, disappeared like that, gone. Objects disappear. Beings change. So what finally is permanent? Only the self. And if you cannot place your attention there, expect
Misery.
misery. Then when you're miserable, you say, okay, I did all this nonsense, so I'm miserable. Should be simple, right?
Even when we say that, the misery doesn't end.
Yeah, it won't end. No, that is its nature. It won't go away. I went and I painted the wall blue. Now I'm trying to remove blue, but that blue is staying there. How will I took 5 months to paint it. How will I remove it in 5 seconds? Can't be done, no? So I know I have done stupid things. I am facing the consequences of those stupid things. Okay, I will face it. I hope to do better next time. You won't do that. You know, when religious preachers say that you're suffering because of the consequence of your past actions, people say, oh, what sin did I do? What did I do? Please tell me, in my last janma, I did something. Forget last janma. In this janma, you're doing it. Last janma, what you did, forget it. This janma, we are behaving foolishly. What is foolish behavior?
A wrong action.
What?
Behavior
Wrong
not based on the intellect.
Inability to distinguish between the permanent.
Very good, Momita. Thank you. I thought nobody is listening unnecessarily. I keep talking, no? Everybody. So I want more people with their videos on. At least I can see y'all and fool myself that somebody is listening. We have foolish behavior. What is the foolish behavior? No discrimination. No discrimination leads to
Wrong action.
Misery, agitation.
misery, agitation. When the agitation comes, they'll say your foolish behavior has led to this agitation. Then we will make it all superstitious. Oh my God, in my last janma, I did some sin. I don't know which way can the sages tell us something by which we will understand it correctly. Okay. All right, is everybody clear? Vivek, are you new to the class? I seem to be seeing you for the first time.
Yes, I'm joining for the first time.
Oh, okay. Welcome to the class. I hope it was clear so far.
Thank you.
So now what we do in this class is we're reading this book, Vedanta Treatise. And now who will read the next paragraph? Everybody reads the paragraph, or somebody reads the paragraph and summarizes. Okay, so who's reading this paragraph?
I can read.
Please.
You must therefore examine what is unchanging in the changing phenomena of the world, what remains constant in the inconstant factors of life. Observe your own life's journey, how it passes through various facets from childhood through old age. Your personality is in a constant flux of change, never static. Yet you point to yourself and say, this is me. This height, weight, this name, fame is me. Little realizing that the moment you point your finger at yourself, you have already changed. There can be no fixation of your personality. Nevertheless, you go on declaring, I'm a child, I'm a boy, I'm a man, I'm an old man. The personality moves on, but the I remains. So the first point is to examine what is changing in the, what is unchanging in the changing phenomenon and what is inconstant in the constant factors. And we can do this by observing our own life. In our own life, our own personality goes through changes, the body changes, mind, intellect changes, but the I doesn't change.
Very good. So simple, right? So examine what is unchanging in your own personality. Examine. I'm a little child. I am a teenager. I am a middle-aged person. I'm an old person. I'm a dead person. No, not dead person. Sorry. I am whatever I am. What is the same in all these statements?
I.
I. How simple, no? See, Vedanta is a very simple subject. The simplest subject. Everything about me has changed. Only the I has stayed the same. That is why when Moses asked the Lord who he was, who gave this message, who gave these commandments, so the voice of God is supposed to have said, I am that I am. I am that I am, which you're using all the time. What a superb sentence, no, that is. So clear, everything about my life changes. The only thing that has stayed permanent is the I. The I is the same, and everything I say about the I changes. But the I stays the same. The I means capital I.
Is it the I or is it the I am? Or is it the same thing?
Same.
Same thing.
I am, yeah. I am something I say, no? I am good or bad or tall or short or smart or dull, whatever it is in the world I want to say.
Okay.
Who will read the next paragraph?
I can read.
Please.
The same I assumes three distinct states of consciousness as a waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper. These are three different personalities. But you declare, I am the person in the waking state. I am the person in the dream. I am the person in sleep. That I, the constant factor which runs through the three states, is the Supreme Self. So again, in the three states, waking, dreaming, and sleeping, the I is the only constant, and that is the Supreme Self.
Very good. Even when you change your state of consciousness, even when you go, today you say, I am Vivek Gupta. But last night you may have said, I am Pankaj Sharma. So at one time you claim to be Vivek Gupta, at another time you claim to be Pankaj Sharma. This is change of personalities, but what stays the same is the I am. I am Vivek Gupta. I am Pankaj Sharma. And when you go into deep sleep and you experience nothing, you say, I am nothing. The I am stays the same. The I stays the same. It is understanding this permanence in us. There is something permanent in us. We don't know what is that thing. Everything we perceive about ourselves changes. And yet, my sense of me is always there, right? Even if there's a cockroach walking somewhere, he feels, I am here. Or a mosquito is flying somewhere, I am here. That sense of I-ness. Bindu feels, I am Bindu. And Joyce feels, I am Joyce. The Bindu and the Joyce are different, but the I is the same. Everybody has that same sense of I don't know what sense of I. That sense of I is exactly the same. Now, there seems to be some kind of permanence in that, which doesn't seem to be in anything else. in my own personality, it changes. People, somebody is a person, somebody is a dog, somebody is a mosquito, somebody is a whatever in the world they are. Everyone also has that sense of I. A little amoeba also has that sense of I. No? Suppose the amoeba could talk and you say, oh amoeba, where are you? And amoeba will say, here I am. I am here. So that I is constant, not only in my personality, but everywhere. Now that's an interesting permanence. Yes, yes, Deepraj.
How can we say for sure that I is there in every being? Because we experience the world only from our perspective.
Okay, chalo, remove every being. Say hi, human.
No, means like even other humans. Say we're in a dream and we experience the dream. And in the dream, we say that the other people also are I, but they're not the I, right? It's just me experiencing the dream. The other people.
That's the whole point. That sense of I-ness, which I have segregated from the others. In the dream, it's just me, right? The whole thing is me. You understand that. But I have segregated. I said that this is me, but that is not me. So there's a dreamer. The dreamer says, I am very angry with my wife. So I am me, but my wife is not me. But that is a wrong concept. Because when he wakes up, he will realize the whole thing was him. So it's the dreamer's wife will say, I am somebody or the other. Right? And the dreamer says, I am somebody or the other. And they feel that the dreamer feels that there is some kind of division. But when the dreamer becomes the waker, there is no division. The whole thing was him. There was a story about two philosophers. I forgot who they were. Okay, I'm sorry, my memory is failing me on all the multiple things that I have read over the last 60 years. So there were these two philosophers, and they were very always quarreling with one another. So philosopher A one day went to sleep, and they were always arguing. So in his dream, the other philosopher gave him such a good argument that his whole theory collapsed. So philosopher A went to sleep, and in the dream, there was an argument between philosopher A and B, and philosopher B gave such a good argument that philosopher A's argument collapsed. And so he got up like in a nightmare, because nothing can be worse for a philosopher than somebody breaking his argument. So he got up, a nightmare it was. And he couldn't sleep because he said, how can he have this argument? How can he come up with such a brilliant argument? Until he realized that both arguments were given by his own mind. Suddenly you see, oh, about me. Both arguments are me. So as long as you're in the dreamer, I feel my I sense is very different from you. But when you wake up, suddenly you realize, oh, you're in the same thing. So what you're saying is not a contradiction to what is being said. You're saying the same thing again.
I think I might have confused it by bringing in the dream thing. My question was more of like, how do I know that other people have the I sense? I can only speak for myself that I have the sense of I.
Yeah, so the whole philosophy is addressed only to you. You don't need to consider whether Momita has an I sense or not. All that you have to understand from this is that you have an I sense. Okay, and if you ask Momita, she will probably tell you she has an I sense too. But in either case, what, Sadev? You're not muted. But in either case, it's going to be the same thing.
But the philosophy is based on that everybody has the I sense. In fact, everything is the I.
Correct. That's the whole point, right? He's making. Everything is the I. You are segregating the I. You are saying Deepraj is me, Naim is not. You have made this segregation. Okay, after some time when Deepraj gets married and he has a wife, Rajni, then Deepraj will say, Deepraj and Rajni are me, but everybody else is not. You know, that I sense will grow. So when that I sense grows to include everybody, then that is realization. So what you're saying is not in contradiction at all. And as a philosopher, we don't want to know what is in Joyce's mind. And that's one of the things, I don't know if you ever heard, Vedanta has always spoken to one person. It's as if the whole knowledge is spoken to me alone. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Momita, you still have a question?
No, I had the same question as Deepraj actually, that how do I know the other person has an I sense the same as me? So in economics, we had this rationale called introspective reasoning. So since I know I have an I sense, I extend that logic to think that everybody around me also has an I sense, and they have the same sort of approach or rationale as I do, reasoning as I do.
Now, so that second step is incorrect. That is wrong, right? We all have different reasoning, but the I sense we all have. Can I ask you?
This was just the reasoning to support the models. Like when price increases, I'll buy less. So I think like this, everybody else thinks like this. So that model doesn't stand if I'm not extending my reasoning to everybody else's.
And that model doesn't stand because some people will buy it only if the price is higher.
Yeah, so yeah. But that was the logic given.
But in this case, we don't need to.
Yes.
Philosophy is a very simple thing, no complications. You have an I sense, okay? And you are assuming, for argument's sake, that everybody else has an I sense. But the important part of this whole thing is you're removing your I sense is restricted here. But the self is all pervading. If you take a very rough calculation, you ask 9, do you have a sense of I? Do you think you're sitting there? What is your answer?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So you take a rough thing. Ask Bindu. Bindu, do you think you're sitting there?
Yes.
Yes. So you take a rough calculation and then you follow the principle. Tell me which principle we are following. Now that you are doing Gnana Yoga, you should know which principle we are following. When we do things like this, we are following the principle of
Yatha Pinda Tata Brahmanda.
Oh, fantastic. I never actually thought you would come up with it. Fabulous. Excellent. I hope you're coming to the residential course, Deepraj. We need people who are focused on the knowledge. Very good. Excellent. Yatha Pinda Tatha Brahmanda. As the microcosm, so the macrocosm. Right? Remember the example? The day is like the year. So it starts, same seasons of the day, same seasons of the year are reflected in the day. The atom and the movement of the solar system is the same. Yatha Pinda Tatha Brahmanda. As the microcosm, so the macrocosm. Now, following that principle, we say, okay, I have an I sense. Everybody I know around me has an I sense, and therefore I am now going to postulate that everybody has an I sense. However, everybody having an I sense is not critical to the argument. If you can somehow break the idea that everybody has an I sense, you would still not break the argument. Okay, have I just confused matters some more?
It will not break the argument because if everybody doesn't have an I sense, then we don't have an I sense to uncover.
You have, right? This philosophy is addressed to you. We have an I sense to uncover.
But
now we took a rough and ready reckoner, right? Everybody we asked, they admitted.
Yes.
You admit, if you admit to a I sense, you have to uncover it.
Yes, but it's also about like seeing the I in everybody to connect with them. So if other people don't have an I sense, how do we connect with them?
No, not like that at all. You don't see the I in everybody. You see yourself in everybody. Oh, sorry. I think it's all on the wrong track. It's not that we are seeing other people's I sense. It is that we are understanding that everybody and us are the same. That I, which I am considering, I'm saying this is I. Actually, this is not I. I is the whole. That's what is ended now. That's why the constant factor which runs through the three states is the Supreme Self. It is the self. If you take only that those who have an I sense are the self, then what about this table? The table has no I sense. That was only an explanation of how we can we understand these things. But you can't say if somebody doesn't have an I sense, the self is not in them. That's why it's not critical to the argument.
I think it's clear now. Thank you.
Yeah, Joyce.
My question was about the states of consciousness. I understand that the I is constant in the three states, but then why do we make the distinction? Why do we say we have three states? Is it because we're not conscious of the I at moments, like let's say when we're dreaming or when we are in deep sleep? Because the brain still functions during deep sleep. So the I is there, but is it we make the distinction because we're not conscious of the I during dreaming? Why do we make this distinction? That's my question. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, use the same principle, yatha pinda tatha brahmanda. As the microcosm, so the macrocosm. You're saying, why do I make a distinction between the three states of consciousness if it's all the same consciousness? All right, it's all the same body. But you say, no, I'm a little baby, I'm a teenager, I'm a middle-aged person, I'm an old person. You're making a distinction, right? So it is the same thing. It's got nothing to do with the consciousness being the same. When the body is the same, you're making the distinction. You're saying 15 years ago, I was 50 kgs. Now 15 years later, I am 70 kgs. 15 years after that, I will be of some unknown number. So as long as you are seeing the body, you will make these distinctions. So same thing, as long as you're seeing states of consciousness, you'll make the distinction.
It doesn't mean that it is not connected to the fact that I am in an actual awareness of this I when I'm awake or when I'm dreaming or when I'm in deep sleep. It has nothing to do with that.
No, you're never aware of the I.
Yes.
You say, I am Joyce. You're always aware of the Joyce. You're never aware of the I.
Yes. Yes.
All the time, right? If I say, how's life going? What's happening with you? You will tell me what's happening with Joyce. And rightly so, of course. If you start telling me what's happening with Momita, we will all have to put you in the lunatic asylum. So if I say what's happening with you, then you will say, this is happening with me. But when you're saying with me, you're meaning Joyce.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's clear. Thank you.
Yes, there.
Janki ji, Hari Om. This I sense when you say, are you meaning the big eye or the small eye?
Vedanta doesn't make a difference between them. Jiva is Paramatma, remember? The I in you is the self, big self.
So
But
can
the way
we...
you know it, the way
Right.
you know it is the small self.
So is this statement correct? The ego creates objectification, converting the big eye to the small eye.
Okay, yeah, you can say that. Or you can take what, I always find this example very good. I don't know whether you will find it good. It's a very illustrative example. That there's a bulb. The bulb is covered with a red, whatever, cellophane paper, right? Now somebody asks you, where is the red light? You will show that light, whatever that is coming through that cellophane paper, correct?
Right.
Suppose somebody asks you, but I thought the bulb had yellow light. Where's the yellow light? Point it out to me. Which light will you point out to? You will show that same red light. Right? So that yellow light of the bulb and the red light of the bulb are really the same thing. The yellow light appears red because of the covering.
Right.
I don't know if that helps. I mean, it doesn't establish, not an argument, just an illustration. So it makes us understand how this personality is the self. It's not different, but the personality is now coated. It's coated with these ignorance, with vasanas, with so much stuff we've piled on, that the light that shines through looks different.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so shall we proceed? Who will read? Anyone else or anything? Is it clear, or have I just made it all more confusing than before? Okay. All right. So let's just recap. Okay, so the same I, the body, mind, and intellect goes through changes. Okay, but and we understand these changes that they take place. You can understand them, and if you focus on them constantly, you will suffer those changes. Means whatever that change takes place, you will have misery as a consequence of that. Means by misery, of course, you'll have joy and you'll have sorrow. If you lose weight, then you have a lot of joy. You put on weight, then you don't have joy, or other way around, depending on what size you are. So, or you become, I don't know, you make your head red, then you feel very happy, but when it's gray, then you don't feel happy, whatever. You enjoy it. Enjoy it means you experience the highs and lows of that, because the focus is on the changing phenomenon. But what is not changing in this whole thing is the I. I am a redhead, same as I am a gray-haired person, same as I am a person without hair, same thing. What is same in all of them? The I is the same. The red hair is different from the gray hair, is different from the no hair. But the I continues the same. And all our problems are because we divide the I out. You can say it either way. You can say we divide the I out from everything, or you can also say that the I goes and attaches itself to everything. Both would be true statements. Look, don't blame me. You came to Gnana Yoga. You're supposed to think. No point blaming me for it. I'm just telling you what is written here. Okay. So far, so good. Everybody's on the same page up to this point.
Attaches itself means attaches itself to the personality.
Or it either you can say it is attached to the personality, to the bit, or it is segregated from the whole. Both are the same. See, because these things can be said in so many different ways that sometimes we get confused. But the point we must get. And then you don't need to read any other book. If in our whole life we only read this one book, that's it, this whole book, we will know all that we need to know. We don't need any other book. Whenever I say that, oh, you're so fanatical about this book, I'm not fanatical. You don't want to read this book, you read any other book. I mean, which has the knowledge. But just whole life should be reading just that one book. So no, whole life, how can I read? Okay, Baba, keep 2-3 books, but don't do more than that. I mean, in terms of your Vedanta stuff, don't read and read and read and read.
Janki ji, when we are saying, I have changed, my color has changed, my hair color has changed. So what reference? There should be some reference, no? With reference, what you have changed?
What? I didn't catch it.
No, there should be some permanent thing, no? With reference to that, we can say, no, we have changed. Otherwise, how you will notice that you have changed?
Okay, so?
So what is that? There should be some permanent, no? Permanent thing?
The eye, no?
So with reference to I, you are saying it is somebody has changed, something has changed.
Yeah. And that's the permanent thing.
Because in the plane we cannot see sometimes in the plane we cannot see cannot see that we are traveling. It is appearing steady. Even though we are traveling, we are moving, but sometimes we feel plane
Yes,
is
I'm aware of
stationary.
what you're referring to, but I don't know why you're bringing it up. So I'm not getting what is your point. Yes, what you're saying is true, but okay, so what? Not so what, but what is your point?
So point is there should be some permanent thing. As you said, it is I.
And there's a lot of disturbance also. I don't know if are you all hearing disturbance?
Hello?
It's like some breeze is blowing or something.
Yes.
No, there is no breeze. Okay, Janki.
Okay, so who will read? Okay, so anyone else has a question, or shall we go forward? Now read the next paragraph.
Excuse me. No. The other person was asking, with reference to some unchanging I only, we can say that this hair is colored gray, or hair has become gray, or this like that. Is it how we should perceive? Is that what he was asking? I feel so. Because
There is no question. I mean, if he has a question, he'll ask. Don't worry.
No. I think
Ask
because
for him. You have a question, you ask. He will deal with his questions.
Okay, sir.
If he has a question further, he'll ask. He was only referring to something we studied earlier.
No, I could hear it. That's why I wanted to, because there was disturbance. No, so I thought I will just.
You could hear it. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got that. I got the reference, but there was no question. Okay, so next paragraph, who will read? Bindu, you want to read the next paragraph?
Yes. The path of knowledge helps you develop the awareness of that one reality, the kaleidoscopic patterns of life. Recognize the unity in diversity, the one self pulsating in every facet of life. You must sorry, what is the next word? You must develop an awareness of divinity that pervades everywhere. Make good use of scriptural study and reflection to probe into the self that you are. Keep your thoughts in your divine center while you function in the world. Never let yourself slip out of yourself. Just as fishes live in the medium of water, birds in the medium of air. So, do you live in the medium of the divine consciousness? That consciousness is your real self. Remember, you are the self at all times. Revel in yourself. You will soon rise above your worldly attachment and entanglement and reach the state of self-realization. In actual practice, you must make sure that you study the scripture daily. You derive the best.
No, just one paragraph. Thank you. Yeah. Now, will you summarize that paragraph?
Yes, I will try. We should know whatever actions you are doing on this planet or whatever. Although you are doing all the actions, you should always revel in the self rather than getting entangled in the I sense, which is with the impermanent things which you are seeing around you, including your body and the other things. So just separate yourself from that and revel in the self and do all your actions without that entanglement or worldly attachment.
That is a cause and effect relationship. When you remember the self at all times, then the result is you will soon rise above
the worldly attachment and entanglement.
Yeah, so that's a cause and effect relationship. Yeah. So now the big, very good, Mundu. Now the big question in life is, how will you be able to do this? How will you remember the self in all your transactions? Every time you're in class, why are you in class? For the self. You went, then you started cooking. Why did you start cooking? For the self. And then you went to sleep. Why are you going to sleep? For the self. How will you remember this? How is it possible that we will be able to bring about this constant remembrance of the self? This is an important question to us because it is given to us as the cause, right? It says, if you do this, you will rise above your worldly entanglements. So now how do you remember the self? So the only way that actually happens is when self-realization is your goal. If self-realization is really your goal in life, you will remember it. Whoever has whatever goal will always remember it. A Wimbledon champion never forgets that he has to play Wimbledon. A person who's trying to get a turnover of 10,000 crores, he's not going to forget. You wake him up in the middle of the night and say, what are you doing? Say, I have to, bring up my turnover to 10,000 crores. So the only way you can remember, or even a simple thing, if a lady wants to get her daughter married, does she ever forget? Wherever she goes, she sees. Suppose Bindu wants to get her daughter married. Then when she comes to this class, one eye will always be on eligible young men.
Deepraj.
And if she wants to get her son married, then one eye will be on eligible young women. So anybody who wants to do something doesn't forget it. So if you have the goal of realizing the self, you will not forget it. Now the problem is, how do we make it our goal? It seems too far away. It seems too abstract. How can all of us decide that self-realization is my goal? And then, really want it. No point saying it's my goal in the air. You're really working for it. You really want it. You're really working for it. How will you do this? So one method is, in the book, throughout the book, wherever you see the word self, you replace that word self with any higher idea. Anything higher. Higher means higher than where I currently am. Any higher idea, you can replace it. And whatever higher ideal I have, then I should remember that at all times. And remind myself occasionally that the reason I have the higher ideal is so that I will reach the self. Okay, but at least I have to lift myself up a little bit. So this is one way. Now you will say, I don't have a higher ideal. What am I going to do? So therefore, he's given us a practical way of getting to that stage where at least we can have a higher ideal. And that is what the next paragraph is about. But before we go to the next paragraph, at least the flow of thought should be clear. Let's briefly understand what he has said. He said Gnana Yoga is for intellectual. It is usually understood as reading a lot. It's not reading. It is discrimination. So what is that discrimination? The discrimination between the permanent and the impermanent. Now, why is this discrimination so important? I'm not discriminating. So what? Re Baba, if you cannot make this discrimination between the permanent and the impermanent, you will chase the impermanent. If you chase the impermanent, it is a changing thing. It will change. Then when it changes, you're going to cry. So stop for a minute and think, what is permanent? When you start thinking of what is permanent, you realize eventually that only God is permanent, only I is permanent. Everything else is changing. So therefore, I need to put my attention on that if I want to be on secure ground. The problem is I can't. So since I can't do this, I have a higher ideal. If I find I cannot even have a higher ideal, then he's given one step by which we will know our ideal, either a higher ideal or the highest ideal. How do we get there? So that we are going to do next time. Okay, so that's it for today.